Welcome, deep divers. Have you ever found yourself making a crucial decision for your website, your marketing, or even a personal project and you just guessed?
Relying on a gut feeling, maybe? Or what someone thought was best.
Exactly. Today, we're diving deep into a method that lets you banish that guesswork and make truly data-driven choices.
We're talking about A/B testing.
A scientific approach to optimizing almost anything, really.
And our mission for this deep dive, well, it's to unpack exactly what A/B testing is.
Right.
Why it's not just a nice to have, but honestly often a must have.
Okay.
How it works in practice, step by step, and crucially, how to avoid the common missteps so you can genuinely harness its power.
Yeah, avoid those pitfalls.
Because what's truly insightful about A/B testing is how it shifts the focus. It moves you away from opinion-based decisions
Which can get messy.
to measurable, actionable results, real evidence.
Okay, let's cut straight to it then. For anyone who's heard the term A/B testing, or maybe split testing, but isn't entirely clear on what it truly entails, how would you define it? Beyond just, the basics.
Okay. At its heart, A/B testing is a direct comparison. Simple as that.
Between two versions.
Right. Two versions of something, let's call them version A, that's the control, the original, and version B, the variant, the new idea. And you compare them to see which performs better against a very specific, measurable goal.
Specific and measurable. Keywords.
Absolutely. Think of it like a controlled experiment. You show these different versions to different segments of your audience.
But randomly assigned segments.
Randomly assigned, yes.
Right.
That's critical. And then you measure their responses. It's really the go-to method in marketing, product development, web design.
Why? Why is it the go-to?
Because it provides undeniable data on user behavior, what people actually do, not just what they say they'll do.
So it's about isolating impact then, really zeroing in.
Precisely. The core characteristics that make it so powerful are, well, first, controlled experimentation.
Okay.
You change only one variable at a time. This is non-negotiable.
Just one.
Just one. If you tweak too many things, you'll never truly know what caused the outcome. It gets muddy.
Makes sense.
Second, randomized sampling. Like you said, users are randomly assigned to either version A or B. This eliminates bias, making sure your groups are comparable.
Right, fair comparison.
And third, it's completely data-driven.
Yeah.
Decisions are rooted in measurable outcomes.
Yeah.
Conversion rates, clicks, whatever. Not just assumptions or, who argues best in a meeting.
Huh. Yeah, avoids the highest paid person's opinion problem.
It certainly helps.
That makes perfect sense. To really anchor this, give us a classic example maybe, but perhaps with a little twist on why it might have worked.
Certainly. Let's take our fictional deep dive streaming service.
Okay, love it.
They want more users to sign up for their premium plan. A classic test would be two different call to action buttons for the sign up.
The CTA button, always a good one.
Always. So maybe one is bright red saying buy now, and another maybe a softer blue saying shop premium.
Okay, red versus blue. Buy versus shop.
Exactly. They show these to different random halves of their website visitors. Now, in a typical scenario, they might find this shop premium button actually leads to more signups.
Even if it's less eye-catching, maybe?
Right. Even if it's a less striking color. And the why there often comes down to psychology.
Ah, interesting. How so?
Well, shop premium feels less aggressive, maybe, more exploratory. It's less like an immediate final commitment than buy now.
So it lowers the barrier slightly.
Exactly. Makes users more comfortable taking that first step.
That's fascinating how just a small word change can tap into user psychology like that. So beyond just getting a better button, why should companies or even individuals really bother with this?
Yeah, what's the bigger picture?
What are the truly impactful benefits you've seen from A/B testing?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, A/B testing isn't just about small tweaks. It's like a fundamental shift in how decisions get made.
A shift. How?
First, it leads to vastly improved decision-making. You move from intuition, from gut feel.
Which can be wrong.
Often is. You move to empirical evidence. This isn't just about reducing risk. It's about amplifying confidence in your choices. You know why you're doing something.
Confidence through data. I like that.
Second, it directly enhances user experience by finding out what really resonates with users, what they click on, what makes sense to them.
They're making it better for them.
Exactly. You're not just optimizing for your goals, you're actually building something users love and find intuitive. It's a win-win.
Okay, that's huge. What else?
Well, the most tangible benefit, the one people must focus on first, is increased conversions.
Right, the bottom line.
More signups, more purchases, more downloads, more engagement. Whatever your key metric is, A/B testing directly impacts it, usually positively if done right.
So it pays for itself, potentially.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
It also significantly reduces risks. Think about it. You're testing changes on a small segment before a full rollout.
Like a safety net.
Exactly, a scientific safety net. If the new version bombs, only a small percentage of users saw it. And it's incredibly cost-effective. You're optimizing existing assets, existing traffic, rather than pouring resources into entirely new, unproven solutions. You're making what you have work better.
Getting more from less.
Precisely. Finally, and this is maybe the most strategic benefit, it fosters a culture of continuous improvement.
It becomes a habit.
It turns optimization into an ongoing cycle, an always-on process, not just a one-off project you do once a year. It's a mindset.
That's a powerful list. It really does sound like a truly structured, almost scientific process.
It is, or it should be.
Let's get into the mechanics then. What are the nuts and bolts of how an A/B test actually works in practice, beyond just the general definition?
Okay, the practical steps. It absolutely is a structured process, and following the structure is key for reliable results. Think of it as a methodical journey.
Okay, guide us through it.
You typically start by identifying a clear goal. What specific outcome are you trying to improve? Be precise.
Not just make the website better.
No, definitely not. More like increase checkout completion rate by 10%. Then you choose a single variable to test.
Single variable, you mentioned that. Crucial.
Crucial. Isolation is key. Next, you create your variation in your control A and your modified version B.
The challenger.
The challenger, exactly. Then you segment your audience, randomly splitting them into groups to see A or B.
Randomly. Got it.
After that, you run the test. You let it run. Let the data accumulate from real user interaction.
How long?
We'll get to duration. It varies. Then, critically, you analyze the results, using statistical methods to determine if there's a real difference, a winner.
Not just eyeballing it.
Definitely not eyeballing it. Statistics matter here. And finally, you implement the winning version.
Roll it out.
Roll it out. And then, importantly, you iterate. You learn from that test what worked, what didn't, and that informs your next test. It's a loop.
Identify, choose, create, segment, run, analyze, implement, iterate. Sounds like a solid framework.
It is. It works.
So, if that's the high-level process, what are the specific essential ingredients, the components you absolutely must have in place for any effective A/B test?
Good question. This brings up a crucial point, because skipping any of these can really invalidate your results. You might as well not have bothered.
Okay, lay them out for us.
First, you need a clear hypothesis. This isn't just a guess, it's a testable statement.
Give me an example.
Like, we believe changing the headline on our deep dive streaming service landing page from great shows to your next obsession will increase signups by 10% because it evokes stronger emotion. See, it has the change, the predicted outcome, and the why.
The because is important.
Very. Then you'll have your control, version A, the original unchanged element, the baseline.
Baseline. Okay.
Then your variant, version B, the new version you're testing against the control.
A versus B.
Right. Then, critical for validity is the sample size.
How many people see the test?
Exactly. The number of users needed to ensure your results aren't just random chance, just a fluke. Too small a sample, and the results mean nothing.
How do you know how many?
There are calculators for that, which we'll touch on. Related to sample size is statistical significance.
Okay, sounds technical.
It is a bit, but the concept is simple. It tells you how confident you could be that the observed difference between A and B isn't just due to randomness.
So you know it's real.
Right. We often aim for 95% confidence. That means there's only a 5% probability that the difference we're seeing is just accidental luck.
95%? That's a high bar.
It should be if
Yeah.
you're making business decisions based on it. And finally, randomization. We've mentioned it, but its core ensures fair assignment of users to each version, eliminating bias. Everyone needs an equal chance of seeing A or B.
Hypothesis, control, variant, sample size, statistical significance, randomization. Got it. Those are the building blocks.
The essential building blocks. Don't skip them.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly logical
Yeah?
for our listener who might be thinking, right, I want to actually run one of these now.
Yeah, ready to try.
Let's walk through a more detailed, practical guide, that step-by-step journey of an actual A/B test. Maybe continue with our deep dive streaming service example.
Excellent idea. Let's map out those steps in more detail.
Okay.
First, define your objective. Let's get specific for our streaming service. The objective is clear. Increase the number of users who complete the sign-up process for our premium plan by 15%. Measurable, specific.
15% increase in signups. Clear. Step 2.
Second, formulate a hypothesis, maybe based on some user feedback or just an insight we hypothesize. Changing the first step of our sign-up flow from a generic Create Account button to a more enticing Start Your Free Trial button will increase sign-ups. Because it highlights the immediate benefit free trial and lowers the perceived commitment compared to just Create Account.
Okay, makes sense. Variable identified.
Third, identify the variable to test. In this case, it's that specific button text. Maybe it's colored too, but let's stick to text for now. Remember, one variable.
Just the words. Got it.
Fourth, create variations. So we designed version A, the original Create Account button, and version B, the new Start Your Free Trial button. Ensure they look right, work right.
A and B are ready. Now what?
Fifth, determine sample size and duration. This is where many tests honestly go wrong if not calculated properly.
How do you calculate it?
You need enough users in each group, A and B, to reach that statistical significance we talked about. There are online calculators for this.
What do they need?
They usually factor in your current conversion rate, your baseline, the minimum improvement you'd want to reliably detect, called minimum detectable effect, or MDE, your desired confidence level, usually 95%, and something called statistical power, often 80%.
Okay, so some inputs needed there.
Yes. And then duration.
Yeah.
You need to run the test long enough to capture different user behaviors. Don't end it on a Friday afternoon just because the numbers look good.
Why not?
Weekend traffic might behave completely differently, or weekday versus evening. You need a full business cycle, usually.
So how long is typical?
Typically 1 to 4 weeks is a good starting point. It depends on your traffic volume and the size of the effect you're looking for. Enough time to smooth out those daily fluctuations.
1 to 4 weeks. Okay. Step 6.
Sixth, segment your audience. We randomly assign new visitors landing on that page to either see version A or version B. The testing tool usually handles this randomization. Crucial for avoiding bias. Our groups must be comparable.
Random split. Check.
Seventh, run the test. We deploy these variations using an A/B testing platform. The users won't even know they're part of an experiment. They just see one version of the page or button. Let the data roll in.
Let it cook.
Let it cook, exactly. Eighth, analyze the results. Once the test duration is complete and you have your sample size, you compare the performance of A and B.
Looking for that winner.
Looking for a statistically significant winner. Most good A/B testing tools have this analysis built in. They'll tell you the conversion rates for each version, the difference, and the confidence level.
So the tool helps with the stats part.
Hugely, it tells you. Did version B truly outperform version A according to the statistics, or was the difference just random noise, just chance?
Okay, crucial distinction. And the last step.
And finally, ninth, implement and iterate. If version B is the statistically significant winner, say, it did increase signups by 10% with 95% confidence.
Then you roll it out.
You roll it out to 100% of users, make it the new standard. But the journey doesn't end there.
Ah, the iteration part.
Yes. The insights from this test, maybe the free trial framing worked really well, inform our next hypothesis and our next test. Maybe we test start your free trial versus get premium free for 7 days.
Always learning, always improving.
That's the goal, driving continuous improvement for a deep dive streaming service or whatever you're working on.
That's a really comprehensive walkthrough. Thank you. So once you're on this path, running these tests, what are some of the critical best practices, things to keep in mind to ensure your A/B tests truly deliver value? And maybe flip side, what common pitfalls should we actively steer clear of?
Excellent question. Because, the devil is often in the details with testing. For best practices, number 1, again, test one variable at a time.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Seriously, I can't stress this enough. If you change the headline and the image and the button color,
I've learned nothing.
Nothing conclusive anyway. You won't know which change or combination of changes moved the needle. Also, prioritize high-impact changes.
Don't sweat the small stuff initially.
Well, focus your effort where it's likely to matter most. Elements like calls to action, CTAs, headlines, value propositions, pricing displays, key navigational elements. These tend to have the biggest immediate effect on your goals.
Biggest levers first.
And, vitally, ensure statistical significance. Do not, I repeat, do not end a test early just because one version looks like it's winning after only a day or two.
That's tempting, though.
So tempting. It's a common mistake known as peaking, and it dramatically increases your chances of a false positive thinking you have a winner when you don't. Let it run its course.
Patience is key.
Patience and statistical rigor. Also, segment your audience thoughtfully, if needed. Sometimes a change works great for new users, but terribly for returning users. or vice versa.
So you might need different versions for different groups.
Potentially, or at least analyze results by segment. Run tests for an appropriate duration, we talked about this, to iron out daily or weekly fluctuations and external noise.
Holidays, weekends.
Exactly. Document everything. Your hypotheses, why you ran the test, the variations, the setup, the results, the confidence levels, what you learned. Build a knowledge base. Future you will thank you.
Good point. Avoid rerunning failed tests.
Absolutely. Always start with a clear hypothesis, as we discussed. Don't just randomly change things hoping something sticks. Have a reason.
Test with purpose.
And finally, make sure to test regularly. A/B testing isn't a one-off event. It should be part of your ongoing optimization process. It's a lifestyle, really, for data-driven teams.
A testing lifestyle. I
Yeah.
like it. Okay, so what about those common pitfalls? The biggest tripwires people fall over, especially when they're eager to see results.
Right, the things to avoid. This brings up another critical point because these pitfalls can completely derail your efforts and waste resources.
Let's hear them.
The most common ones include, as we just hammered home, testing too many variables at once. Multivariate testing exists, but it's more complex and needs way more traffic. Stick to one variable for standard A/B tests.
Keep it simple.
Keep it clean. Another huge one is small sample sizes. Running a test on like 50 people per variation, the results are likely meaningless. Any difference you see could easily just be random chance.
Need enough data.
Need enough data for reliable conclusions. And again, ending tests too early, peaking. It's a classic trap that leads to those false positives, making you implement a winner that isn't truly better or might even be worse.
Resisting the urge to peak.
It's hard. Many also ignore external factors. Did you run a big sale during the test? Did a competitor launch something huge? Was there a holiday? These things can skew results if you're not aware.
Context matters.
Context matters immensely. Then there's focusing on vanity metrics. Tracking things like page views might look good, but does it actually link to your core business goals, like revenue or signups?
Focus on what drives the business.
Right. Crack metrics that matter. And maybe the absolute worst pitfall, not acting on results.
Doing all the work and then nothing.
Exactly. If you run a rigorous test and find a clear, statistically significant winner, implement it. Don't let that valuable data, that proven improvement, just sit there gathering dust in a report.
Seems obvious, but probably happens.
More often than you'd think. Organizational inertia, fear of change, whatever. Act on the data.
Makes sense. Okay, when you are analyzing those results, looking past the vanity metrics, what are some of the common good metrics you typically be tracking in these tests?
Yeah, useful ones. The metrics always tie directly back to your specific objective for that test. For common ones include
Top of the list.
conversion rate. Definitely. The percentage of users completing your desired action, signing up, making a purchase, filling out a form, whatever the goal is, that's usually key.
Okay, what else?
Click-through rate, CTR, especially if you're testing buttons, links, or ad copy. How many people who saw it clicked it?
Engagement signal.
Yes. Bounce rate can be useful too. How many users leave your site after viewing only one page? A lower bounce rate is often better, suggesting the page is relevant.
People are sticking around.
Right. Then you have broader engagement metrics like time spent on page, scroll depth, maybe video plays if that's relevant. Are people actually consuming the content?
Deeper interaction.
Exactly. For e-commerce, revenue metrics are critical. Things like average order value, AOV, or revenue per visitor. Did the change actually make you more money?
The ultimate test sometimes.
Often. And for services or apps, retention rate can be a key metric for tests related to onboarding or feature usage. Did the change make users stick around longer?
Lots to track depending on the goal.
Choose the one or two primary metrics that directly reflect your hypothesis and objective. Don't get lost tracking everything.
Focus. Good advice. This sounds powerful, but also maybe it requires some specialized tools. You mentioned calculators and analysis
It
platforms.
certainly helps. You can do some basic stuff manually or with spreadsheets, but it gets complicated fast, especially the randomization and statistical analysis.
So for someone looking to get started or maybe scale their efforts, what are some helpful platforms out there that can simplify this entire process?
Yeah, there are many excellent platforms that really streamline A/B testing. It makes it much more accessible.
Any names spring to mind?
Sure. Some popular ones include Optimizely. It's very robust, kind of an enterprise-level leader for web and mobile testing. Lots of features.
Okay, Optimizely.
Google Optimize was a great free tool, tightly integrated with Google Analytics. Unfortunately, it's being sunsetted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're moving testing features into Google Analytics for itself, so that's the Google ecosystem option going forward. Still developing, though.
Good to know. Others?
You also have VWO, which stands for Visual Website Optimizer. Very popular, good balance of features and usability. Adobe Target is another big player, often part of the Adobe Marketing Cloud for larger companies.
VWO, Adobe Target.
There's A/B Pasty, which is known for being quite user-friendly. And tools like Unbounce are particularly strong for landing page optimization, often with A/B testing built right in.
A/B Tasty, Unbounce. Quite a few options.
Yeah, and others like Hotjar offer feedback tools that complement A/B testing well. When choosing, you really need to consider your budget, obviously.
Right.
The complexity of tests you want to run, simple button changes or complex multi-page flows. And crucially, how well it integrates with your existing analytics and marketing stack. Does it play nice with your other tools?
Integration is key. Don't want data silos.
Exactly.
This is where it really gets interesting for me. Let's hear some compelling real-world examples, A/B testing in action, where it made a measurable, maybe even surprising difference.
Absolutely. These really bring it to life. Okay, one great example is an e-commerce website. Their objective, naturally, was to increase purchases. Standard goal. The variable they tested was the text on their main Add to Cart button. Version A said Add to Cart, plain and simple.
In.
Version B said Proceed to Cart. Subtle difference, right?
Very subtle. Add versus proceed.
The result. Proceed to Cart increased conversions, actual purchases, by nearly 8%.
Wow. 8% from one word change. Why?
The thinking was Proceed to Cart implied the item was sort of already selected in the user's mind, and they were just moving forward in the process. It reduced friction, maybe felt less like making a final commitment at that specific moment compared to Add.
Interesting psychology again.
Isn't it? Another one is in email marketing. Objective, improve email open rates. Always a challenge.
The subject line battle.
The subject line battle. They tested two. Version A was important account update. Sounds a bit serious, maybe even worrying.
Yeah, it makes me think something's wrong.
Right. Version B was, your account just got a boost. Much more positive, benefit-oriented.
Intriguing. What happened?
Your account just got a boost. Had a 20% higher open rate. 20%. It promised value rather than implying a chore or a problem.
Huge difference. Framing matters.
Immensely. And one more, for a mobile app. Their objective was to increase user engagement with a new feature they'd launched.
Getting people to actually use the new shiny thing.
Exactly. They tested two onboarding flows for this feature. Version A was a standard multi-step tutorial explaining how to use it. Forced tutorial.
Okay, the usual approach.
Version B offered a prominent skip tutorial option right at the beginning.
Let people jump in. Risky.
You'd think? But the result, users who saw the skip tutorial option actually engaged with the new feature 15% more often than those forced through the tutorial.
Counterintuitive. Why?
It allowed proactive users, the ones eager to explore, to jump straight in without frustration. And those who did need the tutorial maybe opted in more intentionally because they chose it, showing greater engagement afterward. It respected user autonomy.
Fascinating. These examples really demonstrate that the obvious choice isn't always the winner, right?
Not at all. And that a small change, tested properly, can have a really big impact. Data reveals what intuition might miss.
Truly shows how data can surface those counterintuitive insights.
Right.
Okay, so for those listeners who are maybe already applying these basics, they're running some tests.
They're comfortable with the fundamentals.
Right, and they're ready for a deeper exploration. Are there any more advanced concepts in A/B testing worth briefly introducing, just to whet the appetite?
Indeed. Once you've mastered the A/B fundamentals, the world of testing opens up further. You might look into multivariate testing, MVT.
MVT, what's that?
That's where you test multiple variables simultaneously, say headline and image and button text, to understand not just which version wins, but how the different elements interact with each other.
Sounds complex.
It is. It requires significantly larger sample sizes and more complex analysis, but it can yield deeper insights into combinations.
Okay, MVT. What else?
There's also sequential testing. This isn't one test type, but rather an approach where you run multiple A/B tests in sequence back to back.
Building on each other.
Exactly. You use the insights and winner from test 1 to inform the hypothesis for test 2, and so on. It's about iterative refinement over time.
Continuous improvement again.
That's the core idea. Then there's personalization testing. This takes it a step further by tailoring variations not just A vs B, but tailoring them to very specific user segments.
Like showing different offers to new versus returning visitors.
Precisely. Based on demographics, past behavior, location. You test personalized experiences against a control or against each other.
Yeah.
Much more target.
Getting quite sophisticated.
It can be. And then you have more technical approaches, server-side testing, for instance,
Server side, as opposed to
client-side testing, which usually involves modifying the page in the user's browser using JavaScript. Server-side testing conducts the tests on the back end, on your server, before the page is even sent to the browser.
Why do that?
It's ideal for testing more complex features, like search algorithms, pricing engines, or changes deep within an application's logic where front-end manipulation isn't suitable or performant enough. More control, less flicker.
Okay, lots more to explore there. MVT, sequential personalization, server side.
And even different statistical approaches like Bayesian A/B testing, which offers more flexibility in interpreting results as they come in. But those are definitely more advanced topics.
Good to know they're out there for when people are ready.
So if we really try and connect this all to the bigger picture, A/B testing, fundamentally, it's a powerful scientific method for continuous optimization. It applies across so many domains.
Websites, emails, apps, features.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And its success isn't about finding some magical insight out of thin air. It hinges on having really clear objectives, creating robust, testable hypotheses, and having the discipline to run tests correctly and ensure statistically significant outcomes.
It moves you from guessing to knowing.
That's the perfect summary. It moves you from guessing to knowing based on actual user behavior.
And as you, our listener, think about this, consider how applying this systematic, data-driven approach, maybe even to small decisions in your own life or work, beyond just websites and marketing campaigns. How could that lead to surprising and maybe even measurable improvements? What stands out to you as the next thing you could actually test now that you know